Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra. Now, let me first of all welcome you guys, and let's begin with a distinction this morning. There are two kinds of people in a classroom. The first one sees the smartest kid in the class and asks, how did you get that answer? The second one spends the entire semester saying, I hate that he's even in this class. Now, unfortunately, South Africa seems to have been spending more time listening to that second group. Because for years, migrant traders have been accused of taking jobs, opportunities, and taking over local businesses. The Somali shopkeeper, the Ethiopian wholesaler, the Zimbabwean trader, the Nigerian entrepreneur. At some point, it even began to sound as though these people were personally responsible for every economic problem short of load shedding. You know, the thing with the light. Now, I know migrants have also been accused of crime and drugs, but I'd like to keep this monologue on the socio-economic side of town this time. Because the saddest part of all of this is that while everybody was busy arguing about who owned the shops, very few people were studying how the shop was being run. And that's what makes this so disappointing for many Africans. Not because migrants succeeded, not because locals struggled, but because an opportunity to learn was turned into an opportunity to blame. And whether you like them or not, migrant traders were conducting one of the greatest free business masterclasses on the continent, and South Africa had the front row seats. So, lesson 1, cooperation. 10 traders buy together, 1 trader buys alone. Who gets the better price? Who sells cheaper? Who attracts more customers? Yet some people looked at this and concluded that the secret ingredient must have been foreignness. No, winner. The secret ingredient was mathematics. 10 people buying together will always beat 1 person buying alone. And that's not a conspiracy. It's a calculation. Simple. Lesson 2, availability. The migrant-owned spaza shops open before sunrise. The owner is there. You pass at noon, still there. You pass at 9 p.m., he's still there. The shop remains open because the owner understands something many economists spent entire careers trying to explain. Convenience itself is a business strategy. The township customer does not conduct citizenship interview up and down. No, he wants bread at 5 a.m. She wants milk at 9 p.m. And if one shop is open and the other one is closed, patriotism doesn't suddenly just become patient for you to come and open your shop at 10 o'clock. And lesson 3, ladies and gentlemen, community. Information moved quickly. Capital moved quickly. Experience moved quickly. When one trader found a cheaper supplier, others learned about it. When one made a mistake, others avoided it. When one needed support, the entire community stepped in. And Africans have actually been doing this for generations. I mean, think about your local Nigerian Agile group to the Stockvells in your South Africa. So trust became capital. Relationships became infrastructure. Success became a team sport. Again, it's not magic. It's not some wizardry or witchcraft. Not some mysterious foreign advantage, just simple organization. And organization has a funny habit of outperforming chaos, which brings us to the awkward part of today's lesson. If migrant traders leave, what exactly leaves with them? Is it just the people that leave, or is it the examples, the actual examples? Because if all you ever saw was a foreign face behind the counter, then you missed the entire lesson, the one I just told about. The lesson was never about nationality. The lesson was the method itself, how they pulled resources together, how they managed costs, how they served customers, how they stayed competitive. I mean, if you've ever met an Igbo trader, then you are going to understand exactly what I'm talking about. How they turned tiny businesses into sustainable ones. That was the lesson. And that was the note many people never actually wrote down. Smart economies learn from competitors. They don't simply just complain about them. A successful rival is actually, well, a free consultant, let's put it so. A thriving competitor is often an unpaid lecturer. And the question is whether you were listening, South Africa. Because for years, South Africa had thousands of such lecturers in townships, in markets, and on street corners. The real opportunity was never chasing them away. The real opportunity was learning enough from them that their presence no longer mattered, becoming good enough to beat them. And now, many of these lecturers have packed up their bags and their notes and have left, which means the masterclass is over. The foreigners were the problem, Abi. At least that was the claim. So if the foreigners leave, that means the excuse itself leaves as well. She? Well, South Africa, the shells are still there, the customers are still there, the business opportunities, they're still there. The economy is still there. The driver's seat is finally empty. And the question now is not who was holding the steering wheel. I think the question is much simpler now. She sabi drive. Oh yeah? You can +234 your Nigerian friend and ask them exactly what that means. Welcome to Breakfast Extra. My name is Mazino Appeal, and of course, every single weekend, I don't do this alone. There's Queen Celestine who's going to join me. And of course, today we're going to have a little chin wag here and there about everything that's making Africa work or not work, especially Nigeria. Hi, Queen. How are you?
I'm good, Mazino. How are you?
I'm good. I couldn't turn this one into a movie like you did the past 2 weeks, but I wanted to, but I'm like, let's Nollywood.
I think at this point, with the whole xenophobic issue, I think you need to go to South Africa and see for yourself what's...
I don't know. I used to always love to go, but I don't know about that now. I also saw Inam on, what was it? Whose little podcast? That was very interesting, and I think everybody needs to see that as well.
Yeah.
In any case, let's start a Sunday edition of Breakfast Extra, shall we? I will come over and we'll begin. Welcome. This is Breakfast Extra.
Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra. I am Queen Celestine. Now today we begin with one of Nigeria's biggest challenges, insecurity. From the northeast to the north central and beyond, many communities continue to grapple with violence, abductions and fear. We start in Borno State, where the family of an abducted teacher is pleading for his safe return. Also in Benue State, fresh attacks have claimed more lives, despite repeated security operations. Now, as families mourn and communities count their losses, we ask why these killings persist and what more must be done to restore peace in one of Nigeria's most troubled regions. And beyond security, we examine the federal government's reforms of the National Youth Service Corps. Will these focus on skills development and entrepreneurship make the scheme more relevant, or do deeper concerns around security implementation and youth empowerment still need to be addressed? In our third hour, we focus on maternal health as the rising cost of safe childbirth continues to place millions of Nigerian women under financial strain. And finally, we take a closer look at the recent happenings in Oyo State, where kidnappings, a major market fire, and concerns over cult-related activities have sparked fresh conversations about public safety, emergency response, and the protection of lives and livelihoods. These are the stories shaping conversations across the country this morning. Again, I say welcome. Mazino.
Hey.
Again, I think you need to go to South Africa. I've been to South Africa and I do love it. So it's a pity for such a beautiful place to have these situations. I feel so bad. I love Mapiano. I love, their food and stuff. So sometimes... I love
the people, actually.
I do.
And their accent. But unfortunately, that love seems to be only one direction. It's unfortunate, the situation. I thought we were more than just... brothers. I thought we were a continent. But yeah.
There has to be something driving this. But anyway.
Indeed. In any case, let's get ready for the dailies as we bring you the front pages, what you'd find when you pick one of these up. Stay with us.
Yes, welcome back. Now let's move straight to the headlines and the papers. We'll start with the Sunday Sun. Right at the center, it says 2027 poll, ADC raises fresh alarm. How insecurity, INEX lapses, APC's contrived situations may stop elections, says Abdullahi, who's the party spokesman. And what Obi's defection means for ADC. Tinubu failing because he's running Nigeria with Lagos world view. That's interesting, something to read. As INEC nomination portal opens, APC faces internal revolt. You find that on page 18 and 19. It says aggrieved aspirants cry foul over alleged name swapping. ADC, NDC, other opposition parties on edge. This is not the first time we're hearing this. Or somebody on Breakfast Central who was saying that he bought a ticket and, he came and
Somebody else.
The election, he got 0. He's like, I
How?
bought a ticket. At least I would have voted for
At least
myself
my
and
wife-
have one. And have one. He said,
One
where's my
person.
one? But anyway,
Oh dear.
hopefully we have a committee as always to sort that out. And right at the top,
All ye.
Mazino. Ekiti kidnap victims released after 67 days. That is good news. 67 days, but that is good news. I cannot read the other ones in fine print. It's unjust to pardon terrorists but keep Kanu in jail. Primate Ayodele says. And GDP, federal government must account for omitted 2% expenditure, says Atiku. They're really coming for the government. Amnesty to federal government, probe human rights violation in Southeast. And last but not the least, rejection, humiliation shaped my success, says Messi Aigbe. And
Who?
that's all, Messi
Okay.
Aigbe.
Okay, cool.
And that's all for the Sunday Sun. Mazino, what
All
do
right,
we have
I
next?
think I'll move on to the Nation next. Nation newspaper has these headlines front center, and more questions trail at DME's PC as federal government probes looms. How Phantom Agency's bus was fired as Adelica's SSA over forgery claims. Is this so? So there was precedence, it would seem, as investigations go. This is very exciting and entertaining, quite frankly. I'd like to see the bottom of this barrel. Senate targets fast track of state police bill on resumption. Congratulations, we can't wait. Xenophobia, 2 more Nigerians killed in South Africa. This is sad. Mocha flood victims petition ICPC, EFCC alleged diversion of relief materials and donations. And 67 days after kidnapped, Ekiti worshippers regain freedom. 1 dies in captivity. At the bottom, therefore, the Nation, Tinubu seeks stronger partnerships with faith leaders. How's that going to help? Well, we wait to find out. That's all for the Nation, at least the front page.
Well, in Nigeria, you need prayers
We do,
to
don't we?
lead the leaders to their job description.
I believe in prayers, but I also want to see action. I want to see that those prayers are working through you. You know.
For you and I. Let's move to the Sunday Telegraph.
Yes. Sunday Telegraph's got these.
Investigation. How illegal mining fuels banditry insurgency in Nigeria. I think we're doing more talking than actually doing.
You know the funny thing about this illegal mining? It's
Tell me.
always in words. It's always in full caps. We've never seen proof
With our
of these.
eyes.
And I'm not saying that they don't exist. I'm just saying that it's shielded somehow. Why? Are we going to find something else? Are we going to find heavy machinery?
Maybe now that you've
airport
mentioned it, we're
strips?
going to have drones
But
fly around.
we've
and
talked
find-
about illegal mining, especially in Benue and Jos, for so many months now, for almost a year and a half, but we
Yeah.
haven't seen the evidence. Why are you smiling weirdly?
It's a strip.
It's the what?
It's a strip.
It's a strip, yeah?
So we'll wait for it.
But yes, it's beginning to concern me. I'd like to see evidence of it. Can we be let into these communities so we can see what exactly, with visuals, what exactly these mining sites are like,
I agree
where they are
with you.
positioned geographically, if they relate to any of these hotspots where we have violence, then we'll be getting closer to the
truth.
To the truth.
The truth we will get. Oyo, Kwara, Zamfara, Sokoto, Niger, Osun, most affected with these issues. We're tackling new threats, says state government. Federal government needs to take total control of mining activities, says experts.
Where?
Somewhere.
Where? Let's see it.
2027, opposition in tatters. No match for Tinubu, says Senator Carlo. You find that on page 2. And 450 buildings threatened by flood in Anambra as Adebebe village petitions Solodo over 7-kilometer road. Well, we have Lagos Coastal Road.
Which seems to be adding to the flood situation in
Yes.
Lagos.
And Trump marks U.S. 250th anniversary with campaign-style rally on National Mall. Right at the
Did you
top.
see that? Did you see? Trump is so excited about 250 years for America.
He wasn't there.
Not all of America is excited, however.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, I don't live there.
Seem to be the dull. Let me not say anything.
I don't live there. I don't know what's happening. Hope
I won't say.
they get what they need. Professor Patu told me why APC panics despite 31 governors and majority hold. He says most governors can't win their streets. in free and fair election. Interesting. Polls will be about individuals and not parties, says APC chieftain. And Akiolu urges peaceful polls, predicts Tinubu's victory. I love all these predictions. And vehicle tariff cut will derail auto policy and discourage investors, says experts.
So you can buy cars cheaper now.
I heard.
Well, depending on the engine size. if you're using an SUV, you'd still have to pay premium. But if you're going anything below 2 liters, then you'll be
but if you go anything below 2 liters, then you're riding under the sea.
No, what you mean? Because the conditions in Lagos. No. So you get that wrong. There are cars strong enough below 2 liters that can take.
That go under the sea. You become
Who
Ariel.
sent you to live in Lekki? No,
Wow.
I'm sorry.
It's not only Lekki that is
If you live in Lekki, you can afford a big car. You can pay the premium charges. So stop complaining. But it's a good thing. However, it's not going to kick off immediately. While the policy goes, it will be enacted. It's going to take a while for stock to actually run out, and then you can get the cheaper ones.
Yeah, because when they keep saying not immediately, we're wondering when it's not immediately.
And it's not that much cheaper, really. It's just
well, they just did this because we have more Chinese.
We have what?
We have more, we have more Chinese cars.
Well, that's the point. They're trying to encourage more of these EVs, electric vehicles. So the charges also apply to the size of the car engine, because the more, I think it's called the green tax. So if your engine is big, then it's actually you're putting too much carbon dioxide into the air. So you have to pay for that. However, if you use an electric vehicle, if you're importing electric vehicles, no green tax. Well, so it's trying to get us to go more electric. It's a good thing.
Yes. One last thing for Sunday Telegraph. 8.8 trillion expenditures. Presidency massing fund for election, says Atiku. And that's all for the Sunday Telegraph.
Well, congrats. We got to the end of that. Let's do the Sunday Tribune now. 67 days in captivity. Untold story of how abducted Ekiti church worshippers regained freedom. Another iteration of that story here for the Tribune. At the top, we have lost our means of livelihood. Ibadan herb traders count losses after market inferno. Kwankwaso Group challenges presidency to come clean on PFIPC controversy. There's so much about this PFIPC. I really want to see the bottom of this. FG flags off reconstruction of roads destroyed by Boko Haram in Borno. And of course, we are having Umaru Kirawa this morning to have some conversation about the violence there. Ajimobi assumes duty as Nigeria's ambassador to Austria, pledges to strengthen bilateral ties, and Atiku raises the alarm over IMF's alleged 8.8 trillion naira unaccounted spending by FG. Calls for probe. Unrecovered public spending signals lack of fiscal transparency, say experts. That's all for the Tribune. We have a strip today that references the IMF loans and Nigeria and what the presidency might be using it for. It's them that said it, though. You'll see for yourself when we get to the strips. I'm not going to tell you anything more. So
let's look at the Sunday Punch.
Yes.
Okay, Sunday Punch. APC faces backlash over controversial candidates list. You find that on page 3. Party insists changes followed appeal panel's recommendations. If it followed a recommendation, then why is it controversial? Interesting.
Nigeria.
This is Nigeria.
Exactly.
One dies as kidnapped Ekiti worshippers regain freedom. Find that on page 6. Poisoned air. How gas flaring fuels childhood deaths, respiratory diseases in Rivers community. There's always something happening. It's been years and nothing has been done. My fiancé called off our wedding after I lost my leg in an accident, says a Nambra hairstylist. That is sad. What is her name, though? Electricity subsidy gulps 385 billion naira amid blackouts. And Vatican envoy meets Tinubu and hints at Pope's Nigeria visit. So the Pope might be coming to Nigeria.
That would be a shindig. That would be very interesting. Well, we can't wait to have him. I wonder what roads will be fixed.
Of course, there are so many roads.
Yeah.
Number plates. Police impound 120 vehicles in Ogun and Delta State because of plate numbers. And right at the top, 2027 politics stall local government autonomy despite Supreme Court ruling. why is there always a ruling and people are still not obeying because there's always a gray area? It's so confusing. Does that mean that our judiciary has lost their power?
It means this is Nigeria.
Discos lost 1.13 million customers over rising energy costs.
Who did they lose the customers to? What alternative
the sun.
to? Well, solar is actually quite a big deal now.
Yes.
I don't think I've seen actual power in like 5 days in my home, quite frankly, so I can understand who they're losing to. So let's move on to the Sunday Vanguard, shall we, for this morning. Sunday Vanguard has this big headline here: heavy rains flooded water. May last 12 weeks, government agencies warn. Fears mount in states, drinking water feared polluted. NYSC says Lagos drainage filled up, blocked. Don't politicize flooding, says Commissioner Wahab. Okay, now. At the top, Bajabia Miller / Adeyemi saga escalates as presidency fingers internal collaborators. But of course, they have to be internal collaborators. They asked the DSS, EFCC police to uncover them. How AG of deployments treasury officers to fake council documents, very interesting. Another iteration of the 64-day kidnap victims who were released there for the Sunday Vanguard. And of course, rule of law ahead of 2027 NDC deregistration ruling exhumes 2023 controversies over Tinubu and Shetima. That on page 8 of the Sunday Vanguard. NYSC reforms, NANS, others diagnose core members' employability. And police handed my wife over to a mob. They burnt her alive. Husband cries for justice. Unfortunate. Morocco knock out Canada. Congratulations to Morocco. At least they're still African. And England stars allowed to use Viagra. Yes, that's a good way to end the Sunday Vanguard on such a climax. What else do we have? Quickly, Queen.
I think the last paper for today will be the weekend vision.
The weekend vision from Uganda.
Yes. Pain, anger, loss as Ugandans flee South Africa, or rather forced out. We're not sure which. And right at the top, who is hunting Uganda's albinos? Hunting?
Yes, it's a thing. So it's related to ritual killings. They believe that albinos have some magical force. I think we have such a thing here in Nigeria as well.
Well,
we used to in certain cultures.
It's no words. Meet the cooking nurse, a nurse who knows how to cook. Interesting. An NRM to select committee chairpersons, vet elect candidates, and right below, scholarships, grants, jobs, and fundings offers inside. And I think that is all we can take for the weekend vision.
And indeed, all for the dailies this morning, as we've given you the front pages. Thank you very much for joining Breakfast Extra. We're about to get started with our very first conversation. Do stay with us. We'll be back in just a bit. Well, here I am again for the strips. Thank you very much. It's still Breakfast Extra. Mazino Appeal here. Of course, Queen Celestine will be joining us to help analyze the cartoons that we have. Queen, when are you going to be on this side so I could actually sit down and then you could do the analysis? Really?
Yes.
I haven't seen you do it. I thought it was always Chiwetel.
I have done that.
Okay. Well, maybe sometime you should do it when I'm here. Give me a break, you know. In any case, we have a very interesting collection of cartoons from through the week. Yes. And the dailies. We have, well, every single thing always explains exactly what Nigeria seems to be going through, at least the people. But let's start with our very first cartoon this morning. And our very first image is a very interesting one. It has one of the First Lady, as she's seen pouring out fuel down a slope onto citizens who are already engulfed in fire and flames. And while the sign behind them reads, renewed fire, I mean, this is like an obvious twist on the government's renewed hope slogan. Her comments use it to roast corn is where the satire actually lands. The cartoonist appears to be suggesting that, of course, many Nigerians feel economic hardship. But not only is it continuing, it's worsening. And that official response sometimes sounds more like as if, hey, you guys just endure. It's endurance instead of solution. Nigerians are tired of the whole endurance until we die before we can get solutions. But I also wanted to remark that this might also be coming from the First Lady's remark about frying akara, roasting corn and everything, and that's what she means. use it to roast corn. We'll give you the fuel to prepare your body. What do you think, Queen? There's more actually on this kind of an instance, but what do you think about this first one?
Well, probably the fuel is the grant. She mentioned that, she'd given billions of billions. But the question now is, when you give the billions, who's following up to make sure that it gets to the people?
Yeah,
because at the same time, it feels like what they are saying they're doing is not translating into the economy of the people, the reality. And again, I feel like maybe we're misunderstanding what she's trying to say. She's trying to say, try to do something, but in an economy where your body is being pinched all the time, that's not what you want to hear.
So I don't think the First Lady's generosity is in question here. Yes, give, that's fine. But I think for most of these people, that's not exactly what we need. I think collectively as a people, what we need are amenities. Things to work right, no matter how small.
You, but the question is, what is getting to her table?
To whose table?
The presidency, the First Lady. What is she hearing?
Ah, I get you. Then there's that lack of communication between those who are being governed and the governors.
Exactly.
I understand you. But let's move on now. There's still more. We have another cartoon here. This one's going to take us to a burial ground. And of course, it's no longer the First Lady. Instead, it's the President. Now, of course, you can see two caskets here, marked casualty of bad governance, and then the other one marked casualties of terrorism. They've already been lowered into the earth. Nearby workers are continuing the digging and also preparing more graves. And you can see that one in the back bringing cement. And the president is here encouraging citizens to please take heart because foundations are being made for our second term. So you can see that this contrasts present suffering with future political ambitions, asking whether enough attention is being paid to the immediate challenges facing citizens. So it's much like the previous cartoon. This one's a Sukwa again, and it's from Business Day once more. And right behind him, by the way, let's not forget the Grim Reaper, who seems to always be following him around in some of the cartoons that we have done recently in the past couple of months. Once again, hey, Asukwo, interesting bit here. The guy with the cement mixer and the cement, bring him some cement to lay the foundation for a second term. So obviously, mostly what people see or what people think is that the presidency is more focused on a second term than he is with the people suffering, and we're still recording casualties, bad governance, and of terrorism. What you think here, Queen?
Oh, Mazino, you said it all, but this one...
I'll remain small for you next time, I promise.
You said it all, but there's one thing we need to remember is... it's close to election, just few months, and it's like that's all we've been talking about, but a lot of insecurity is happening. But it's like when one thing happened, then deregistration and re-registration and, coalition and, there's always something, but it now feels like, oh, you don't care about us, we should just wait, and once we give you another chance, then we'll be saved. So again, communication and what you're seeing or what they are saying is not translating into the livelihood of the citizens that they are leading.
Communication gap. Let's take our third one for today. It's going to be interesting as well. This one borrows from Michelangelo's famous masterpiece, The Creation of Adam. I don't know if you remember that phone. There used to be this phone thing where two fingers almost touched. Now, that in itself was also taken from that painting, the Creation of Adam. And in this case here, where we see the president trying to touch the people with such disconnect. I mean, instead of divine connection, what we are seeing here is the president comfortably eating a large piece of chicken. On the other side, with a shirtless, impoverished Nigerian, well, he sits there with a plate labeled, "This is our reality." This is perhaps the most symbolic of all the cartoons here today. It suggests here that there's that disconnect you were talking about, Queen. That's the disconnect between the leaders, where they see themselves in power, and the ordinary Nigerian, what they're experiencing every single day. All the government points to reforms and future gains. Many citizens still remain focused on the realities of hunger and poverty and rising living costs, and that's what you see here. But it's just how, I think this is Asuko, yes, how Asuko manages to get in that Creation of Adam instance into the whole thing. I just absolutely love it. You should check the painting out. I'm sure you've seen it. I think it's in a cathedral, cistern or something like that. It's of God and Adam, and they're almost touching. Do you remember it, Queen?
No.
You don't? I'll make sure I show it to you. I'll if the producers can pull it up, maybe before the end of this, I'll make sure I show it to you in any case. But what do you think?
You said it all.
Oh, stop. The next one you're doing by yourself.
Always explain everything, but like
you're doing it by yourself the next time.
Like we said earlier, it's obvious. The disconnect there is communication. The disconnect there is
realities.
Everybody's following through end to end. So there's always a problem, and you can see the cracks. The cracks is something you can fix.
Yep.
But it's like we're not looking at it.
Absolutely not. We only have a few more minutes, so we have to rush through the next one. Our fourth cartoon here focuses on Nigeria's death profile. President is seen riding a truck labeled $5 billion loan deal. After crushing the warning sign from the IMF, the truck is packed with sacks. Of course, you can tell that that's just, all the loans spilling from out the back. While a caption asks whether the money is for Ihekaire or kulikuli, referencing the First Lady's going to use it to fry corn. I mean, in typical Nigerian fashion, humor is used to ask a serious question. Cartoon is reflecting public concerns about borrowing, about transparency, about accountability, and whether citizens can clearly see the impact of these loans on their daily lives. The answer? Let me let you do this one, Queen. What you think? Before you say I've said enough. Not
well,
it all.
For the first time, they're ignoring IMF. I think a lot of Nigerians don't even want to hear anything IMF is saying, because on paper it looks like, Nigeria is good for investment, but in reality it's the opposite. I think they need to come down and actually live with the people to see what's happening. And again, we keep borrowing money and
I will use it for Ihekaire.
What are we using it? Maybe it's for grant to, roast corn and stuff. We never really know where these things are going. Communication, transparency in leadership. And now maybe it's going into another alleged agency opened.
I know the one you're talking about. President going, woohoo! Our last cartoon for today shifts our attention to South Africa. A man seen sawing the continent actually in half. Saying the South African continent no longer needs the rest of Africa. Go away, Soweto is no longer on fire. This is a very interesting instance. The cartoon is drawing history of African solidarity. Remember during apartheid, all of Africa pulled together to help fight apartheid, and then this is what we get. It's referencing the Soweto uprising, the physical separation of South Africa from Africa. Well, this cartoonist appears to be criticizing the xenophobia that we have all talked about throughout the entire week. South Africans seem to have forgotten the support that they once received from the rest of Africa. And it's a very powerful reminder that history often shapes expectations of solidarity in the present. There we have it. Our entire day is for today on the strips. Thank you very much, Queen. Unless you have something to tell about this one.
Yes, all I have to say is I think we all need to go back to the history books. Everybody, every citizen needs to go back to the history book and see what has happened to your country, how it was developed, how it was colonized or not, who helped and who did not help. Because right now it feels like everybody's just Googling and just take anything without checking your history. Just maybe. When you check your history, you know how to behave. For example, when I went to the prisons in South Africa, it was the prisoners who were there that were the tourists.
You've been to prisons in South Africa? What did you do?
I went to Mandela's cell.
Oh, you should be specific next time. I thought you were an ex-convict.
I went to Mandela's cell and the...
Robben Island.
Yes, Robben Island. And the prisoners who were there are now the ones showing you, what happened,
tour
how they
guides.
were dealt with and everything. So it is different hearing from them than some guy who read history to come and tell you what happened. So everybody, go back and check your history and see how you can amend things. Pushing another person away is not the solution.
That's it for the strips this morning. Thank you very much, Queen, for aiding and assisting. And of course, do stay tuned because we have not aiding and abetting. Well, you are my partner in crime in any case. So whatever troubles I get into, especially after this morning's monologue, you're coming with me. We're going down together.
I don't have a belt. But
oh, you noticed the last time they came for my belt, I had to go shopping for a new one before I talked about xenophobia this time. All right, okay. Let's get the rest of the show going. I'll be back and then we'll do more conversation this time.
Sure. See you in a bit. Now for our first big report, let's move to Borno State. Now, fresh concerns are growing in Borno State following the abduction of a teacher at Government Day Secondary School, Lassa. The incident has left family members and colleagues and residents anxiously awaiting the victim's safe return, while renewing concerns over the safety of teachers and schools in conflict-affected communities. Authorities say efforts are ongoing to secure the teacher's release as residents continue to call for stronger security measures to protect lives and learning institutions.
The incident is another reminder of the security challenges facing parts of the Northeast, where attacks and abductions continue to disrupt education and everyday life. Our correspondent, Umaru Kirawa, has been following the story, and he brought us this report during the week.
Lassa community members display signs as they protest over the abducted student sitting for NECO examinations at GDSS Lassa in Askira Uba of Borno State. They will not allow Borno State government officials to address them as they demand the rescue of their children.
Allah ya fitar mana da su. Da taimakon mai girma gwamna, shugabanmu muna roko. Mun kuma yarda mun ba da gaskiya. Cewa za ku yi mana yaki. ‘Ya'yanmu su dawo.
We are begging them to look forward the way that they can bring our children back. That's our only problem that we're facing. And as of now, we are calling upon the government to give us enough security because we don't want to miss school in our area.
The officials conveyed the condolences of Governor Babagana Zulum and assured residents that the state is pushing for the release of all those missing.
So far, one teacher is late, one teacher critically injured, and another teacher missing, with 36 students missing, 25 females, 11 male students. So it's quite unfortunate. Assurance have been given to us by the security services that rescue would be carried out soon.
The Emir of Uba, Samaila Mamza II, urged the government not to relent until every child and teacher is rescued.
Bayan Allah Ubangiji sai gwamnati. Gwamnati ne za mu saurare su. Gwamnati ne za mu roke su. Kuma Allah Ubangiji kayan nan su dawo. Amma banda a kawo wani hayaniya, ba abin da hayaniya zai kawo.
Officials of the Borno State government also visited the intensive care unit of Federal Medical Center, Mobi, in Adamawa State to sympathize and support the injured teacher who survived the attack.
He came in a bad state, but somehow, fortunately, we have reactivated our trauma center, the ICU. And is one of the few first beneficiaries of this. So far, he is a bit stable.
The visit formed part of the state government's continued engagement with victims' families following the attack, which has drawn widespread condemnation across the country. From Askira Uba Local Government for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
So to give us more insight into the situation, we are now being joined by our correspondent, Umaru Kirawa. Umaru, thank you very much for joining us this Sunday morning. It's like every Sunday we come to you. I wonder why.
It's special. Mara is special. Mara, good morning.
It's often always great to have you.
Now, from this report, just tell us, a lot of people don't know exactly what's going on. Just give us a breakdown. What happened in Lassa and what do you know so far about the abduction?
Well, insurgents in the early hours of Monday stormed Lassa community and they headed straight to the government day secondary school Lassa, where children are about to write their NECO examinations. And all of a sudden, the story changed. They left with some students and, of course, some teachers. They killed one teacher and they left with a teacher and also they injured another one. The military were able to rescue some of the students and the vice principal of the school alongside civilian JTF, hunters and vigilantes of the community. But unfortunately, as we speak, 36 students are still in captivity and one teacher is also in captivity. And unfortunately, the total number of deaths has turned to 2. 2 teachers died. One of the critically injured teacher died. We visited him at the intensive care unit of the Federal Medical Center in Mubi in Adamawa State. And based on the medical director's information, he said is recovering and is stable, but unfortunately, the teacher gave up. And the Borno State officials went to the hospital, supported the family, but you know, the pain is unbearable on the people. And it's a very tough one. In fact, when Borno State government officials visited Lassa community to sympathize with them, to speak to them, the community resisted. They protested at the school, not given chance to listen to the government officials on what steps should be taken, on what is the government doing, or what does the government brought to them. So largely, it's a very unfortunate incident that has happened. And yes, the officials had to meet with the education stakeholders of the community, Lassa, and traditional leaders, the SBMC, the NUT, and other stakeholders in the education value chain. So they decided, they took step on what next to do, because there are others that are writing exam. What should they do? Should they close the school? Should they go ahead with what? So they decided and concluded that they had to close Government Day Secondary School Lassa alongside others because of the vulnerability of the area. And they have taken the students to another school where they are writing their examinations, yes. But largely the pain is still there in the community and is entrenched, and families are appealing to the federal government, particularly the President, Bola Tinubu, to facilitate the safe return of their children so that their children can access school, so that their children can come back home alive and safe.
Well, Kirawa, I've noticed three things from this instance. First of all, the timing, that this attack happened while students were having their examinations, the NECO examinations. The implications are on education here. There's also the geography, the fact that this is historically where Boko Haram and ISWAP have operated for a very long time. And apart from that, it was on a market day where it was said that the attackers used the opportunity to blend into civilian populations so that they are unnoticed. But my general question is, why Lassa again at this time, especially when we're reporting successes from the Borno State governor with his fight against violence and reintegration of insurgents into society?
Metric warfare is one of the difficult fights, so to speak, both on the side of the military and on the side of the community. Nobody can tell you why these people stormed Lassa community. And it's very important to reflect historical antecedents. This is not the first time that terrorists or insurgents abduct students in Borno State. The first happened in 2014 when the Chibok girls, over 200 of them were abducted by terrorists. Largely, some of them were rescued, but some of them are still in captivity. And there are other abduction stories that are largely not reported, particularly that of Musa in Askira Uba local government. We'll be working on things on it in the coming days, hopefully. Students, 42 pupils were abducted in the school. Unfortunately, about 2 months now, as if nothing happened. Nigeria is going on. The president has not said anything with regard to that. And after some weeks, the terrorists stormed Lassa, went with the children. And up to now, everything is going on in the country as if nothing happened. The Oyo story is there. So it's a very unfortunate incident that really, based on what community members are saying, is that the Nigerian authorities need to step up efforts, need to raise the bar of their response in the counter-insurgency operations, particularly addressing issues of abduction, because this is a direct threat to national security, to national peace and progress.
Well, Kirawa, another thing is this, Kirawa, that Lassa, since it's not the first time that this has happened, you'd expect that there's much more protection, especially around schools. For the Safe School Initiative, and I remember that you had a report where the governor also launched this mega school, and the claim was that it was very secure. For places like Lassa that have been hit before, I was expecting that there'd be more security, that this would be not the time we're hearing that students, that education is being attacked again. So it would seem there isn't much being done to safeguard students in schools. Once again, the school has been closed down. And I'm wondering why you have to be beaten twice, more than twice, in the same area.
Well, this is the first time that Lassa was attacked, but neighboring communities were attacked in recent times. The likes of Musa, which is not more than 20 kilometers away from Lassa, and also the community that we went last 2 weeks where they burned down school, but nothing happened. They did not abduct anybody there. But it's unfortunate. I mean, if you see the kind of emotions of these people, not that there are no security there. They have the security provided by the government, the civilian JTF, the hunters, and sometimes they see the military. But what the community members are saying is that there is the need to fortify the security forces in the various communities, particularly those that have been identified as vulnerable and that are tantamount to infiltration by these terrorists. And most importantly, too, the borders, Nigerian borders. I mean, we really need, in fact, we work on a story on the Nigerian borders because that has been one of the major bottlenecks in the counterinsurgency operations. The porousness of these borders allow marauding terrorists. The military are doing very well in terms of dealing with them, but these terrorists continue to marauder and move around the shores of the Lake Chad and other border communities and finding easy way to move around with people, move around with arms, and then cause havoc, distract the relative peace that people are enjoying, and it's something else.
Yeah,
it's a very painful one.
So, Umaru, yes, you've talked about the porous borders and all that, how different people can come in and go. And of course, it's something that the security agencies has been talking about. But now, concerning this abduction, what have they said? What loopholes have they agreed to? And what are they saying in terms of updates on how to rescue the teachers and the children?
You know, the issue of national security does not lie on the state government alone. The federal level of the government is fully in that balance. And as such, the state government, based on what we've heard from them, based on the interactions that we had from them, is that the federal government need to step in. Because it's the cornerstone of the responsibility of ensuring security, particularly the military, the Air Force, and others, lies solely on the federal government. The state government do not have much say on that aspect. As such, there is the need on the federal government to step in to help work with the state government to ensure that these people are back. And most importantly, let the federal government speak so that the people, at least, they can have a sense of belonging, that they have a government that is there for them, that is hearing their pains, that is listening to what they are going through. So that is number one. The federal government should step in, work alongside with the state government, and ensure that these abducted families, abducted students, abducted teachers are back and reunited with their family. But if the federal government continue to be silent on this thing, it will not augur well for this country.
Right. So for the victims' families that you saw, were you able to talk to them? What are they saying? Are they waiting and hoping for their children and their spouses to come back? Will they leave the community to somewhere else? How are they feeling?
I mean, both natural, they feel bad. They feel bad. They cry. We cry together. They pray. I mean, they are begging the government. They are begging the president. They are pleading with the federal government to respond to their yearnings and aspirations, to rescue their children, to rescue the teacher that is still in captivity. The pain there is, it's just like one of my brothers would always say, Ibrahim Zannasunoma, that no horror movie can explain the type of pain and the type of situation that the people of Borno and other parts of the Lake Chad are going through. Because you will never understand this pain until this thing happened to you, until this thing, you experience it by yourself, or you imagine it, put it to yourself. If the president can think maybe one day one of his children are abducted, how will he feel in school, for God's sake? So these people are going through very difficult time, and they have not yet lost hope. Their belief is that no matter how long the night is, the dawn will certainly come. But the government really need to match words with action. The renewed hope agenda should come in place so that they can feel safe, in their own country, their children can access school. In fact, the philosophy of the Boko Haram insurgency has been on education. So if we continue to close down schools and then give chance to these terrorists to be abducting children, invariably it will work on the minds of the people that if we send our children to school, they will be abducted. So it's better not to send our children to school.
Exactly.
Which is very dangerous and counterproductive. So the Nigerian government really need to work out modalities of ensuring that abducted students and teachers and other family members are rescued alive, and then they ensure that security of life and property is maintained, because that is the primacy of governance. Any government that fails and or neglects to ensure the safety of its citizens, that government should not last a minute longer than absolutely necessary. That has been the saying of many.
Wonder who that finger is pointing to. Kirawa, I want to say thank you very much. There's so much to actually still talk about, especially how much of this problem is geography and a total lack of security in Lassa, because it's been hit so many times, and how come this attack on education, or how this attack on education is absolutely affecting education itself. I'm wondering what educationists are thinking, whether they say that the exams can still continue and education continue as usual or as normal. But Kirawa, thank you very much for always being available to help us discuss through some of the reports that you bring our way through the week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mazino.
Yes, indeed. Now let's stay tuned. We've got more conversation inside of the 9 o'clock hour here for Breakfast Extra.
Welcome to the headlines inside of Breakfast Extra. I am Queen Celestine. Now we begin on a somber note. The Nigerian Consulate General in Johannesburg has condemned the killing of 2 Nigerian nationals in South Africa, describing the incident as deeply disturbing amid rising anti-migrant tensions. The victims, Musa Yunanajo, who was allegedly killed by suspected criminals in Witbank, Mpumalanga, and Emeka Charles Iroegbu, who reportedly died after an encounter with officers of the Samwani Metro Police in Pretoria, were both killed on June 28th. The consulate said the deaths have heightened concerns over the safety of Nigerians and other foreign nationals, urging South African authorities to investigate the incident thoroughly and bring those responsible to justice. Meanwhile, South Africa's minister in the presidency, Nshaveni, has reaffirmed that her government will not compensate Nigerians who abandoned property while fleeing recent xenophobic attacks, insisting there will be no reversal of that position despite criticism. And then back home here in Nigeria, the Ekiti State Police Command says it has rescued worshippers abducted during the April 28 attack on in Christ Apostolic Church in Edda Onio, confirming that one of the victims died while in captivity. Police said the victims have been taken to hospital for medical examination and treatment. The command said the rescue followed sustained intelligence-led operations involving the Nigerian Police Force, the military, Amotekun Corps, local hunters, other security agencies, and the Ekiti State government. Gunmen attacked the church during a night vigil, killed the presiding pastor, and abducted several members of the congregation. And despite the Nigeria Anti-Torture Act of 2017 and several international human rights commitments, allegations of torture by some law enforcement and security operatives continue to raise serious concerns across the country. From forced confessions to physical abuse, many survivors are left with lasting trauma, while accountability for perpetrators remains hard. News Central's Idong Joseph examines the gaps in enforcement of available legislation, survivors' experiences, as well as calls to end the practice.
I don't have trust for you. Why? Because
for these 36-year-old Abuja residents who prefers to remain anonymous, the memory is still fresh. He says he was tortured and forced to write statements against his will after being arrested and detained by operatives of the Nigeria Police Force Intelligence Response Team for participating in the 2024 #EndBadGovernance protest.
Do you know the statement that I was asked to write? I wrote the statement for 3 days. 3 nights. I'm not allowed to write my statements during the day at all, except in the night. And I'm being afflicted, melted, punishment on me to write those statements. Because I was forced to write things that I did not partake in. Saying statements like, we want to overthrow the president, we want to kill somebody. No, these are the things they compelled me. It's not
As a survivor of torture who says he was whisked away by 12 police officers in the presence of his 3-year-old daughter, he recounts how the experience left him with lasting trauma and deep distrust for security operatives.
One of the things we were asking for during that protest was that policemen should be treated just. And it's these same people that are being used to melt pain on us.
In Nigeria, official statistics on torture remain scarce due to the silence of many victims. However, thousands of alleged cases have been documented by advocate groups.
We've seen how people are not able to function based on something that has, some trauma that they suffered due to torture. A classic case is a woman who we met at an IDP camp 2 years ago. When we met her, her son was killed by the police in front of her. Her son was not just her son, that was hard enough. He was also the breadwinner.
Perpetrators of such acts are rarely held accountable, as many victims are often intimidated or discouraged from seeking justice.
Within the rank and files of the various law enforcement agencies, they are aware that it's happening, but there isn't enough action. There is obviously not enough action that is being taken.
When a law enforcement officer in Nigeria commits torture, instead of holding him to account, the next thing they will do is that if he is working in Lagos, they will transfer him to Maiduguri.
While allegations of torture by some security agencies continue to surface, the Anti-Torture Act, enacted about a decade ago alongside several international treaties and conventions to which Nigeria is a signatory, provides legal safeguards against the practice. However, enforcement of these laws has remained weak.
The National Preventive Mechanism, which is an obligation under the OPCAT, was also set up in Nigeria, I believe 2-3 years ago. Now, we have those instruments, which is the recognition of the fact that we have to, I won't say eliminate, there's no country that torture does not exist, but we have to, bring it to the barest minimum.
With such acts allegedly perpetrated by agencies sworn to protect citizens, concerns continue to grow over the impact on public trust and Nigeria's international image.
Torture leaves the victims with lifelong pain, trauma, and anxiety, to the extent that whenever they see somebody in uniform, they go into panic. Therefore, we have to address it immediately, and if Nigeria is not taking this matter very seriously, it will continue to have negative impact on the image of the country.
While survivors require psychosocial and economic supports to rebuild their lives, questions remain over who can rein on security operatives to end this trend. Despite laws that expressly prohibit the practice, many victims are hoping that security agencies will completely abandon torture as a means of obtaining information. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Now let's go on a short break. When we return, Breakfast Extra continues.
Welcome back, and time for another conversation inside the 9 o'clock hour. Now, fresh attacks in part of Benue State have claimed more lives, deepening concerns over the persistent insecurity affecting communities across the state. The renewed attacks have triggered fresh calls for urgent government intervention as residents demand stronger security measures to protect lives and prevent more bloodshed.
And for years, Benue has remained one of the states most affected by recurring attacks, forcing thousands from their homes and disrupting livelihoods. Despite repeated security operations and assurances from authorities, many communities continue to live in fear. Survivors have recounted their ordeal while families continue to mourn loved ones lost in the latest violence. And joining us this morning to discuss this further is Ichaver, co-founder of the Sesor Empowerment Foundation and convener of Middle Belt Concern. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Good to have you.
Thank you for being us on.
Now we've heard of another attack. 15 people have died, and it is not the first time. We also have had attacks from last year. There was Yawata. There were so many. And I'm wondering what the difference is between this current attack and what it was from last year or even earlier this year. Have you noticed any difference? And what more can you tell us about this current attack?
Okay, so I think there was, as we sought to get more information on Sai, which is where the attack happened. This is now different location. Sai is in Katsina local government, and it's also neighboring to Kwandi local government, where we've had a series of attacks. There was Jatoka, there was Bachon, and then we've also had other attacks in the Idoma part of Benue, which is Zone C. But it must be noted that these attacks have consistently continued since 2001, which is when the first time we had an IDP camp opened in Ukweam, another location. And these attacks have just continued in intensity, in frequency since that time. We saw it ramp up around 2013, 2014, and it has not stopped. We've had situations where there have been mass, huge attacks, like the one we had in Yawata, where there were over 200 casualties, or the ones that we had recorded in other parts of my local government before, when the previous governor, Otom, even in his own area, there were scores killed. I think there were maybe about 150 something killed. Agatu has continued. So this is a pattern. Right now, what we're seeing is attacks in various locations. They leave, quote unquote, fewer numbers of people killed, even though fewer numbers is not one person killed in this thing. I always say is one person too many. But what we have seen is that they are in frequency, they come in various places, they're all across Benue. These attacks are happening all across Benue. Now, Yawata was a moment because, as usual, what tends to happen, the attack happens, generally government will either deny it happened or try and downplay how serious it was until an independent person comes in to verify. Yawata, we had, thanks to Very Dark Man, he came in and raised the tempo on that. Before Yawata, even around Yawata, there's Daudu, another company. They've suffered several attacks, and and that has been going on for years. So for the Benue people, particularly those in the rural areas, in many of our local governments, from Agatu, there's Apa, all the way down to Kwande and so many places, these attacks have continued without letting up. Even the Bishop of Makudi, his own area, has not been spared. It was attacked last year, and his people are still displaced. So these attacks are all across the state. So what we've seen, the constant, is the attacks have continued. And despite this being a phenomenon that's been going on for so long, we're seeing there are no clear preventive measures. In some places, when the outcry is large enough or loud enough, there will be a show of force where the soldiers will go, like Jatoaka, for example, in Kwande, which is next to Katsinala, which is where the recent attack happened. They station soldiers. But reports we have gotten, reliable reports, are that sometimes the soldiers are not equipped well enough, and the attackers themselves have equipment. That's one thing. Two, sometimes they don't get there on time, or they come only after the fact. And that is because, apart from the insecurity, the question for many of us and for all of us is, the government, we are actually very convinced now, those of us, the Middle Belt concerned, we see the attacks not just in Benue, in Plateau, in various places, that the government does not, as they say, lacks political will. The government does not want to stop this thing, for whatever reason. the governor of Benue State particularly has contorted himself in various ways to try and deflect attention from the seriousness of these attacks. Last year we saw with your water, we kept on denying how serious it was. So with silence, thankfully they've acknowledged it. Soldiers were there, but just after the damage was done. So we're seeing a little response, but we want so much more done and so much more done to prevent.
Okay, then,
So basically what you're saying is that these attacks have continued over the years because the government, one, they don't have the right security intervention. And because of that, it's giving these bandits or terrorists the morale to continue. And you feel like if they are not going to do anything and they are playing the situation down, do you know why that is?
I'm not in the hearts of the government or the minds. I cannot speak to why they're doing that. What we're seeing is the pattern. And it has been consistent, mind you. Like I said, way back in 2013, when I personally got more involved and started seeing this ramp up through the interventions and humanitarian work we were doing. Under Governor Suswam, the attacks were happening. There was a situation where they kept downplaying it, his administration. Governor Otom's administration started, he downplayed it at the beginning until his own area was hit. And then anti-grazing bill debates came up. So it's been a long-standing history. Governor Alia has been actually one of the worst in terms of responding because he keeps on not wanting to acknowledge the seriousness of this. Even as I speak with you till now, the people who are internally displaced from Yelwata have not been brought back to their homes. Some have because other missionaries came in and built houses for them. The Benue State government has been receiving a lot of funds through the State Emergency Management Agency, and yet we're not seeing those displaced people being rehabilitated. Instead, there's just rigmaroling. As I'm talking to you now, Benue State government cannot give you a recent updated figure of how many people have been internally displaced by these attacks. I doubt they even have a database.
Okay,
and
then
if they do, they've not made it.
Yeah,
it's political will. For whatever reasons, we don't know. They should come out and tell us.
Okay, thank you for referencing how this is affecting the daily lives of people living there and what the responses are doing, if there are any. But then I also wanted to talk about agriculture. The fact is Benue State is known as the world's, or rather Nigeria's, food basket of the nation. And with these persistent violence, I'm wondering how that's affecting us agriculturally, even economically. If these continue to go on and we continue to get these very less than fair response from the government, what's happening to our food source? Do you think that this has a big impact in our food source or food security in Nigeria?
The food security has been affected already. We started raising this alarm since 2013, 2014. Our people cannot go to farms. In Mon, a council ward in my own local government in Kwande, they've abandoned that community. It's been taken over by herders. The government knows this. The federal government knows this. They're not doing anything about it. Even the local government chairman visited that council ward a few months ago and saw the headsmen there on the ancestral lands of the Mon people. Nothing has been happening to dislodge these people. There are illegal mining activities happening on farmlands where they get little local boys to do artisanal mining, displacing farmers. So the food security, you wonder in town and in our cities, why, for example, 1 tuber of yam now is going for 7,000 naira, depending on the size, some 4,500 naira. It's back to this thing. So it has already affected our food security across Nigeria. It's just that sometimes we do not fully connect the dots, but it has happened already. In Benue even, which used to be the food basket, I say used to because right now I dispute that title because we are not producing. If you enter Makudi, go to Boko, go to places like Jatoka, these are centers. If you even go to Zakibia, where there was a lot of agricultural activity, all those farmers have been displaced. They are sitting in these communities. They are in host communities. Some of them are in IDP camps.
So if you say that this is a warning that has been if you say this is a warning that has been let out since 2013, I mean this is how many years after? 13 more years after, and I'm wondering how much damage has been done and how long it will take us to actually fix. Do you have any idea?
Well, I cannot speak to the figures. I think SBM Intel has done some research around that. Unfortunately, I don't have those figures close to hand. But they really looked at our food production, how it has been affected over the years. Again, this is what I'm saying. The Benue State government does not even have this data, or if they have it, they've not released it. And that again begs the question, why is Governor Alia's administration refusing to take this thing seriously? All they do is issue press releases. If you raise questions like this, they'll come and say it's because you do not like Governor Alia. It's not about liking any governor or anybody. There are millions of people being impacted by it. It's not just in Benue, across the Middle Belt and in Nigeria, because it's affecting our food supply. And yet our government does not take it seriously. So we don't even have those figures. The Nigerian Bureau of Statistics may be able to help us with that. And I'm sure when you do a correlation between their reporting around food inflation, food prices, food security, you will see that these things are correlated. As these security attacks have continued and have ramped up, and is what I'm now calling an economic genocide of the Middle Belt and of Nigeria, the government is not taking it seriously enough. And instead, there are all these conversations around politics and it's politics, it's 2027 and all of that. Meanwhile, the people continue to die, continue to suffer from hunger, and our food prices continue to rise, negatively impacting not just those in the rural areas, but people like you and me who are far away, Lagos or in Abuja or wherever, who are finding it harder and harder to be able to afford basic necessities.
Indeed, we are finding it harder. It's biting hard here in Lagos.
Yeah, I know, right? So, Ian, now that of course, you've mentioned and we've seen clearly that these attacks are reoccurring and we have low security intervention, what would you say will be a long-term measure to reduce this or end this?
I would say that the government, again, it always harks back to government because it's their number one job. The number one reason we have a government, whether in Benue State or in federal government, and the reason we pay them the taxes, is so that they can secure the lives and the property of Nigerians. That's why we gave them authority over us. If not, we might as well just be in anarchy and declare there is no government and everybody takes up arms and protects themselves. But we've ceded this authority and delegated this authority to them, the constituted authority of the nation, through the Constitution, which Section 14(2)b, we all know this one, says the primary duty of government, that's the reason they exist at all, is not to share federal allocation so that government officials and their, whatever can get rich. It is to secure the people. But when the people are not being secured, then these are the issues that we have. So the government needs to go back to its own role and to take preventive measures. There's so much available. If the government cannot do it on its own, they can partner. They can partner with leaders in security technology. We have the Israelis, we have Americans who have actually been working with them in other parts of the country. They need to come to the Middle Belt. They need to come to the government itself. They claim they are high on technology. That's Nigerian government now. In fact, there's an entire ministry devoted to, was it Blue Marine or Blue Economy and Technology, headed by Mr. Bosun Tijani and so many others who are in this thing. I don't know why they're not putting out drones to basically help to identify where these hotspots are. And the security agencies, of which the Commander-in-Chief, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself, I do not know why they are not insisting that these things be proactively dealt with. I would go further and say that the political will, again, is not there. You have a national security advisor, Mr. Nuhu Ribadu, who has clearly told us that they see some of these bandits and terrorists as brothers. So that raises the question, is the government complicit in this? Is it that they like that people are being killed and displaced? And is it that there are these resources being mined illegally? They're mining, because in Benue too, there's gold mining going on. We understand there's lithium and all that in these displaced communities.
Well, let's talk about the mining. Let's talk about the mining and the possible the possibility of complicity by the government.
Yeah.
Each time these instances or this talk about mining comes up, it's always imbalanced. There's plenty of talk about it from the locals, from people like you who are advocating for no violence in these states. But we never hear the government come out to absolutely say anything about the mining activities that's going on. Why is this so? Why does it seem that there is very little evidence of these mining activities, but there's plenty of talk about it? There's talk about airstrips, there's talk about connivance with local authorities or even authorities in state houses, but we never absolutely see evidence. What can you say about this? Why is it being kept hush-hush, or why isn't it out there?
It is actually out there. There is mining activities. I know another NGO called Global Rights. They actually have a whole range of data around some of the mining. SBM Intel, as I mentioned earlier, has also done some work on this. And to be fair to the Benue state government, they have actually tried to address it to an extent, because I remember some months ago, the governor, they said they were banning illegal mining activities. Now, it's one thing to say it. Our own residents in some of these communities have actually said they've reported mining activities to the government several times, to security agencies in Benue, and nobody does anything. There's no enforcement. Instead, you get reports, and sometimes you see the trucks. They are moving out earth and sand in large numbers. And there are all kinds of allegations and rumors about local government officials, sometimes even traditional rulers getting bribes. Again, back to political will. If the governor and if the president are so serious, why are they not investigating these things? Even in places like Katsina, where there were requests, we understand, by governors that mining activities should be halted until terrorists are cleared out. The minister for mining, in charge of mining activities, I can't remember the name of that ministry, himself did not agree. Even though they pay lip service that they're going to deal with illegal mining, and we've heard news reports of them arresting some illegal miners, it's not going far enough. And I think it's news agencies like yourselves and others have also tried to shed a bit of light on this thing. Maybe it's time to ramp up more of that. But again, the government has to act. The government has to act. And I will say to all Nigerians, if the government refuses to act, then it is time perhaps we started calling for them to leave, or we vote them out in 2027, or we recall our representatives, our senators and House of Reps members. It's a Herculean task, because this whole thing is just not currently working the way we want it to work, and people are dying every day. It's too much.
Yeah, I will let you go now, but my final question to you is, well, one for the other states, all the other states that are surrounding Benue, as they're seeing these violence being normalized in Benue State, what lessons do states surrounding Benue State have to learn from what's happening right now, before it's too late?
I think the citizens have to act. The citizens have to come together and say, we cannot continue to live like this. And like I said, recall your reps, recall your State House of Assembly members, and recall your senators if you need to. Personally, I would push even our State House of Assembly, if the governors are not doing their duties, impeach them. And if the State House of Assembly members refuse to impeach, we should, recall them. That's one avenue that's open to us as citizens. But citizens and IDPs actually need to begin to voice out more. There's a lot of work to mobilize that, but we know, because we're all trying to survive. People are dealing with so much trauma and stress and all sorts of things and losses every day. You're burying families at scale. We've seen plateau happening in Benue. Entire families are wiped out. So there's a lot of trauma. So we do have to, as citizens, gird our loins, find strength and faith from above, from our Creator, from within, from each other, and fight this insecurity and demand accountability from our government, or else we'll just be exterminated if we're not careful.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining and having this conversation. And it is really mind-blowing that these situations are still happening after 13 years of exposure and constant, crying out. And let's hope that they will listen and take the right actions. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Iya.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Now let's go on a quick break. When we return, we start another conversation. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Now, for more than 5 decades, the National Youth Service Corps has been a key part of Nigeria's post-graduation experience, promoting national unity and community development. Now, the Federal Executive Council has approved a comprehensive reform of the scheme, the first major review since its establishment in 1973. The reforms are expected to place greater emphasis on skills development, entrepreneurship, technology, and preparing young Nigerians for the world of work. However, some reports suggesting that the NYSC khaki uniform would be replaced with adire. It has since been dismissed by the Minister of Youth Development, who says no such decision was approved.
Now, the proposed changes have sparked conversations among graduates, employers, and policy analysts. While many welcome efforts to modernize the scheme, others are asking whether the reform will address long-standing concerns around security, around funding, relevance, and employment opportunities for the service. Now, this morning, we take a closer look at what the reforms mean for young Nigerians and the future of national service. Joining us to discuss this is Declan Ihekaire, National Coordinator, Activist for Good Governance. Thank you very much for joining us, Declan.
Good morning,
good to have you here.
Mr. Declan.
Declan, I wanted to know what stands out to you about these new approved NYSC reforms. It's been 50 years. Why is the timing right now?
Thank you so much. It's a little bit, for me, laughing matter. Laughing matter in the sense that it's a missed priority. A reform of such should not be for now. And the reform that doesn't touch the life of the corpers is not a reform. I expect a situation where the government would have reformed it to say that, okay, automatic employment for youth corpers, allowance increment for youth corpers, and other positive impact on the youth corpers. It's not on this kind of reform that one should be rejoicing about. For me, it's a missed priority, and things should be done rightly in this country. The corpers has always been a receiving end at every point in time. They use them for election, use them for all sorts of things. And at the end of it all, they are sent out to go and struggle for their lives after they have been used by the government. And so for me, any reform that doesn't touch the life of the corpers is not a good reform.
So, Mr. Declan, do you believe that this proposed reform now has been almost 53 years? Do you think that that is not what they're supposed to be doing, is something they'd have done before? And why now? Why before elections? Why do you think they're talking about the reforms now? Is it not something they would have done since?
Yeah, you should know that we have a government that always politicizes things. You should know we have a government that always wants to do things to their own advantage. You should always know that we have a government that will always do things to get credit, even when they don't deserve credit. Election is just a few months from now, and these are the youth corpers that will also be used for the election. And so what do you expect? You should expect a touch of some reform to appear as if the government is nice to the corpers. But for me, it is not the right time. And even if it is, best reform that could be done is to ameliorate the suffering of the youth corpers in this country, is to make sure that after serving your nation, you are gainfully employed, is to make sure that the corpers are made to enjoy some free services, medical services, transportation services, free to any destination of their choice. But at this point in time, I see it as politics being played, but I want to trust our youths that they will always stand by what is right, no matter what the situation is.
Declan, the argument is actually that the reforms are supposed to help with skill acquisition and development of these youth who would be undergoing the program. For me, however, the question is much more than that. It's whether such a program can actually act on two fronts, whether it can act as national integration program and also as a development program at the same time. Or maybe the government should actually pick one. What exactly does it want to do for these youths? Does it want to develop them, or does it want to unite Nigeria, which was seemingly the very initial intention of the program itself, unity? Then there's security.
You want to develop.
Go ahead.
You want to develop the youths that are already developed. These youths are already developed. They have gone through school. They have gone to the university. They are matured enough. And every
Oh, Declan, are you still with us?
We might have lost the connection. We hope that we get him back. Well, he was onto something there regarding developing the already developed youth.
Yes.
Because from way back, initially, the program was supposed to unite Nigeria, much like the FGGC schools, called FGGC, federal universities. This was also the plan in the 1960s,
right,
to integrate Nigeria so that it's one. So you're looking at someone from the north and you say, I know your culture, or I've been there,
yes,
which is one thing.
Exactly.
Then there is the fact that it's supposed to help with entrepreneurship in Nigeria, which seems to be the government's drive now. But there's one thing that's been overlooked. While you're preparing entrepreneurs to hit the ground after the NYSC program, are you also providing them with the amenities?
Good question. I think we have Mr. Declan.
Do we have Declan back?
Are you back?
Yes, he is. Declan, hold on a second. We can't hear you. Yes, now we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. How many entrepreneurship has been created by the government of today and yesterday? How many Nigerian youths have been engaged in the rightful way of engaging them? I can tell you that the best engagement the government or any government could do is to provide opportunity for the scoppers after serving the nation to work, not engaging them into what they didn't do while they were in the university. You want to tell me somebody that read a law graduate, you will not ask him or her to go and start doing entrepreneurship? How many entrepreneurs in this country today that are doing well? The economical situation of this country has not even favored those in entrepreneurship to prosper, not to talk of bringing in fresh bloods that should be gainfully employed. I think the government should create an enabling environment for the youths to thrive. Our youth can thrive on their own without being empowered, without being pushed into any sort of empowerment or any kind of job by the government. For me, I'm saying it, the government should create an enabling environment for the youth couples to thrive. Provide them free accommodation if possible, provide them free transportation if possible, provide them free medicals if possible. And you can believe me that our couples or our youths will thrive more.
Right. So, Mr. Declan, you've mentioned a lot of things in terms of this. Like you said, this may not be the right time for this reform as we have elections, and then they should focus on the well-being of the coppers than changing the time of the camp and their uniform and all whatnot. I think my question now will be, if this doesn't happen, would you say that this situation of, doing reforms close to deadlines and fixing the things that are not as important as the one that should be the main focus, do you say that this is a gap in general in terms of Nigerians' governance and lack of focusing on, the right things at the right time?
You see, we're in a government of today and of the past, where I said earlier, they always want to do things to their own credit, to their own advantage, without minding the situation, without minding the timing. And so you ask yourself, is this the best that we expect now? The answer is no. Is this the best that we should have expected from a government? The answer is no. I'll give you an instance. Some months ago, about a year thereabouts,
Mr. Declan, are you still with us? seem to be having
network issues with Mr. Declan. We hope that he can rejoin us again.
I hope so.
Because I was looking forward to tackling the issue on insecurity and whether that's part of the reforms. Because the NYSC, well, these reforms come with the consideration regarding insecurity around the country, and they have said that further on, posts will be risk sensitive. What that means, I don't know. Whether we'll stop deploying troops.
Or maybe they'll start sending people to
these
states
risk areas
that have high risks.
Well, I wonder. Let's take a look at the reforms at a glance here. Orientation camp extended from 3 weeks to 6 weeks. There's also week 1 and 2 civic responsibility, leadership, national values. Week 3 and 4 career mapping. Week 5 and 6 stream specific professional training. So these seem, like I said, very entrepreneur geared, specialized core streams: agri core, medical core, education core, tech core, legal core, public service core, infrastructure, green, enterprise core, creative economy core, paramilitary and security core. I think Mr. Declan's joined us. What's that look on your face, Queen? What? Mr. Declan is back with us. Mr. Declan, please, you were saying before the network went out.
Yeah, this is laughable. You are doing all this in a situation where you say there's no money in the country. Is it not money you use in doing all this? Is it not the same money you said we don't have? Will you now go and borrow again? You will now go and borrow again and tell Nigerians you are using the money to do all this reform. I've told you, and I've still said, our government should be mindful of the way they bring out policies and reforms.
So how would you rather that they channel these monies to the benefit of graduates? If there was no NYSC, if it was to be taken out, how do you think that the graduates could have these basic, what do you call it now, efforts toward them?
How many companies are operating in this country today? What is the electricity capacity of this country? The government should create an enabling environment. The money that is to be used for this reform should be channeled into creating an enabling environment. Nigerians are not lazy. Our youths are not lazy. With or without the reform, our youths are good in creating jobs for themselves.
Do you think if it was made,
do you think in managing what belongs to them and what they can do?
Do you think if it was
How much are they being paid in the camp? How much are they being paid? I have a daughter that just left the camp now. Sometimes they pay them late. And so the same government wants to introduce this. I would rather expect them to introduce these things while those youths are in school, not after they have left the school, after they have served their nation. You still want them to go back to this. It cannot work. It cannot work. They should create an enabling environment for our people to thrive. There should be electricity supply, infrastructural development,
Mr. Declan?
if possible, soft loans.
Mr. Declan, now I hear you when you say that this should be channeled toward the students while they're still in schools instead of after graduation. But let's now talk about the security of these people that are to be posted to areas across Nigeria. The current reform suggestion is that it will be risk sensitive. What that means exactly, we are not sure. Will there be no deployment to places that are insecure, or would it be a voluntary thing? Do you think if the NYSC program was made voluntary, that it could change any of the conditions that we see individuals going through when they attend the program? What's your thought on security? What's your thought on if it should be made a voluntary operation?
Well, for me, I have said it time without number in other fora that the creation of the NYSC, its functions and what it should contribute to the nationhood is long overdue to be scrapped. NYSC ought to be an integrational aspect of the youth.
Welcome back. Unfortunately, that was very abrupt, but Declan, if you're still with us, I'm going to give you the opportunity to round up in about 30 seconds, and then we can say our goodbyes on the topic. Our apologies for the little snafu there from before. But Declan, you were saying, please do round up as summarily as you can.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the government should rise to the occasion by creating a legal environment. try. This reform is unnecessary. This reform is uncalled for. For me, if I have my way, I will scrap the NYSC program, simple because it has outlived its purpose. It was supposed to have been an avenue for our youth after graduating to mix up with other people from other regions, where we have where we'll be able to have one nation understanding of what Nigeria should be. But the situation where we still find somebody in the southwest still serving in the southwest, somebody in the southeast still serving in the southeast, it means the agenda and the purpose of NYSC is already defeated. So for me, rather than the reform, they should totally scrapped.
All right. Thank you very much, Declan, for joining us to have this conversation. Well, we'll continue to monitor and see exactly where these reforms go, how they help young graduates, and whether it's going to be any better now, 53 years from now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Declan.
Welcome.
Now let's go on a short break. When we return, we start another conversation. Do stay with us.
Welcome back, in time for another conversation here for Breakfast Extra. Now, for many Nigerian families, bringing a child into this world is becoming increasingly expensive. From antenatal care to delivery and postnatal services, the rising cost of maternal health care is placing a heavy financial burden on expectant mothers, with many forced to delay or avoid essential medical care. Health experts warn that the growing cost of safe childbirth could worsen maternal and infant health outcomes, especially for low-income families and those living in underserved communities.
Nigeria continues to face one of the highest maternal mortality rates in the world. But what is driving the rising cost of maternal care, and how can government and healthcare providers ensure that no woman is denied safe childbirth because of financial constraints? And joining us this morning is Dr. Owen Omo-Ojo, CEO of HIGC, health consultant and maternal health advocate. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Omo-Ojo. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me once again. Hope you guys are doing very well, and you guys look amazing.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We wish you were here in the studio with us, but unfortunately, we always like to have you in here.
Now, Dr. Ojo, let's just go straight to, is Nigeria actually prizing mothers out of giving birth or safe childbirth?
Okay, once again, thank you very much for having me. Yes, like you mentioned, Queen, Nigeria currently accounts for about 30% of global maternal mortality. And Nigeria is actually the most dangerous place in the world for a woman to give birth. So let's just make that very clear. Nigeria is the unsafest place in the world for a woman to give birth as at today, July 5th, 2026. And the issues are multifactorial. Currently in Nigeria, about 1 out of 2, so out of every 2 pregnant women, 1 will deliver with unskilled birth attendants. That is the current statistics. That is what we currently have. Imagine an aircraft with, say, 200 pregnant women who are due for delivery. That entire aircraft of pregnant women will die from a preventable maternal cause. That's how dire the situation is. Every 7 minutes, a woman dies in Nigeria from pregnancy and childbirth-related complications, a lot of which are preventable. In 2023, about 75,000 women died from... I'm just trying to lay out the statistics for you so that you understand just how dire the situation is. About 75,000 women died from pregnancy and childbirth-related complications, a lot of which, again, I say, are preventable. So yes, when we talk about the issues of women or pregnant women being priced out of safe delivery, the issues are dire. In a country where our health budget, which already is very stretched and far below the Abuja Declaration of 2001, where African Union countries met and agreed to allocating a minimum of 15% of every nation's healthcare, every nation's annual budget to healthcare. Nigeria in 2026 allocated only about 4.2% of its entire budget to healthcare. So yes, and that's the entire healthcare budget. We're not even taking it down to the granular level to say maternal healthcare. So at the government level, in terms of healthcare facilities, we already have a challenge. But let me also say this, 70% of a person's healthcare needs currently in Nigeria, 70% of healthcare seeking behavior happens at the private healthcare facility. So most people visit private hospitals, right? Just to make it very clear. Most people visit private hospitals for, that's the people who have good health-seeking behaviors. We're not talking about the ones that are going to quacks now. And that's largely because of trust, right? When you actually drill down to the cause, that's because of cost. And so at the private hospital level, where they have to provide their own electricity, they have to provide their own security, they have to pay their health workers and all of that. You can only start to imagine. And then with inflation, rising inflation and all of that, of course, it's going to trickle down to the end user. And then in this case, for the sake of this conversation, the pregnant women and their families. So yes, we are in a dire situation.
Yeah, so Dr. Omo-Ojo, you mentioned something in terms of most of the deaths are caused by not so skilled doctors. So again, you said a lot of people are going to private hospitals, and of course it's expensive because they get to do their light and all whatnot. Now, would you say that those cheaper hospitals that they go to and they die there, would it be that the doctors are not good enough, or they don't have the right facilities to use for, the situation of giving birth to children?
Okay, so let me make it very clear, and I don't want to be taken out of context. So there are different aspects to this. First of all, I said for the people who are actually seeking care at the hospital level or seeking the right type of care or skilled care, 70% of them are going to private hospitals.
Okay.
Right? However, currently we have about 48 to 52% of women who are seeking unskilled birth attendants. So that's traditional birth attendants and the likes, right? So they're still going to quacks. A lot of them go to chemists. A lot of them go to traditional birth attendants. So half of the population of women who are pregnant and are expecting or are going into delivery, it's happening outside the structured healthcare system, right? Ecosystem. And so 50% of the ones who decide to actually go to the hospitals are, out of that 50%, 70% of them go to private hospitals. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, it makes better sense.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Now, even the ones who are going to the government hospitals, currently, right, let me just let me give you some numbers. Currently, antenatal care in a government hospital, whether that's a primary health care center or a general hospital, antenatal care will set you back, say, about 50 to 100,000 naira. Normal delivery will set you back, say, about 150 to 200,000 naira in a government facility. Right? Cesarean section will set you back about 300,000 naira. And we're not talking about blood because, again, we know that the leading cause of preventable maternal mortality is postpartum hemorrhage, right? So for women who, say, have postpartum hemorrhage, they would need blood transfusion, which will set you back about another, say, 100,000 naira because the blood is about 50,000 and they have to do some tests, grouping and cross-matching, viral testing and all of that. So it all compounds. And then hospital bills and all of that. So and we're just talking government hospitals. Now, this 300 to 400,000 for cesarean section in a private hospital will probably set you back about 1 million 2 million, 3 million, depending on where you're talking about. And we're in a country where our minimum wage is 70,000 naira. So just think about it and compare those statistics. Now, the danger is that women do not stop giving birth simply because healthcare is expensive. They simply seek cheaper alternatives.
Right.
And the problem with that is that the cheaper alternatives are often unsafe. That is the problem. Therein lies the issue. Because as healthcare costs continue to price people out of safe deliveries, they start to seek cheaper options. And those alternatives are usually unsafe. So whether you're talking about chemists, traditional birth attendants, and all of that, therein lies the problem. And so when we get to solutions, I think we can start to drill down on what some of these solutions are, because again, like my good friend would always say, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And so since as a country, we are not ready to prioritize healthcare spending to ensure that our healthcare budget, first of all, reflects our priorities, and that even the healthcare budget, we actually receive the expected allocation, what has been allocated. I mean, we saw the story of 37 million naira being released for capital expenditure, healthcare capital expenditure out of a 200 billion naira budget. It doesn't show seriousness. And so we have to start thinking outside the box as concerned citizens to say, okay, these are our realities. We don't necessarily have the political will as of today, it appears. And so what then do we do to resolve this issue? Because it doesn't look like the indexes are getting any better currently for Nigeria.
Dr. Omo-Ojo, if Nigeria has been suffering through this for years, you would expect that there has been maybe even research, maybe efforts put on hands to try and make the situation better. But it will seem that, well, we're still recording the world's highest maternal mortality rate. So why exactly has progress been so slow through the generations? No, not generations, but through the years.
Again, I would say there's lack of political will, like I said earlier. But then again, yes, largely government has to take the lead, right? I believe in the top-bottom approach. So whether that's from policy, whether that's from financing, which seems to be the major challenge here. Like I mentioned earlier, that in terms of health-seeking behavior, for people who seek structured healthcare or proper, safe healthcare, it happens at the private healthcare level. How about the government gives tax breaks, right? These are things that are not happening. The private hospitals are still being taxed out. There's multiple taxation from different agencies, right? And so from the government level, there's the issue of not having the right, allocating the right amount to healthcare in terms of the national budget. Yeah. We're still at 4.2% when the expectation is to be 15%. Then the allocation is not even released. So even the meager 4.2%, we don't even receive up to 10% of that allocation. Then government is not coming up with policies. Well, they are announcing policies, but when it comes down to implementation, there is a major gap in terms of announcement of policies and implementation gaps. But let's even start from somewhere. Can we have tax breaks for the private hospitals, right? And then we have, again, this issue is hydra-headed, but then we have a growing trend of japa, right? And it's not something that is going to stop anytime soon. And unfortunately, the healthcare space is disproportionately affected by the Japa syndrome. And so I'd say we have not been investing in training. We know that healthcare is expensive. Whether it's free healthcare, somebody is paying for it. Quality healthcare is expensive. So somebody needs to be paying for it. So apart from the financing aspect, there has to be a lot of training that goes into that goes into maternal health care. And so training of unskilled birth attendants to make them skilled birth attendants. So traditional birth attendants, they are not all bad. It's not all gloom, right? These people in underserved communities, which are mostly in rural communities, trust their traditional birth attendants so much that you can't tell them nothing. You really can't tell them nothing. So their great-grandmother was delivered by this mama in the community who passed the skill on to her daughter and who delivered the grandmother, and then it just goes down like that. So they trust them. How about we train the traditional birth attendants to be skilled? And I love what Lagos State is doing, because Lagos State has actually recognized that traditional birth attendants are a major a critical stakeholder in the maternal health value chain. And so they actually train traditional birth attendants. And so they have a list and they have a directory of
Dr. Omo-Ojo.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me put you on another track. While you talked about financing in the health sector, there wasn't much talk about insurance. Do you think that wider health insurance coverage could actually help the situation in Nigeria when it comes to maternal mortality?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and we're not even reinventing the wheel. It has been done in Ghana, it has been done in Rwanda, it has been done in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Senegal. In fact, Rwanda has a community-based health insurance scheme that is specifically targeted to maternal health. And it has been successful, highly successful in driving down maternal mortality. Same with Ghana, that is just in our backyard. They have a special national health insurance scheme package that is dedicated to just maternal health alone. And that has been very helpful in driving down maternal mortality. And so currently in Nigeria, we only have about 10 to 15% of health insurance coverage. And so we need to drive that number up, and it has to happen at the state, and I'd even say at the local government level. Because bringing healthcare closer to the people is where we can get it right, at the primary healthcare level. When you talk about healthcare and health insurance, it's from experience and from research and from where we have seen that it has worked from the bottom up approach when you go from the local government level. And so local governments and state governments need to start advocating to get more people into the health insurance bracket to ensure that, we have to provide health security for more people, especially those in the underserved communities, and also including primary healthcare centers, general hospitals as part of the providers under the health insurance scheme as well. That's also really important. Having catchment areas when you come to community health, community-based social health insurance programs, having catchment areas that include primary healthcare, because it's not just to have health insurance, it's also to ensure that there is access. So ensuring that the hospitals, the women are able to access providers that are closer to them, because time is very, very sensitive. It's very, very important that every second counts in obstetric care. I don't know if that makes sense. So you don't want a woman having to travel kilometers during labor to find a provider. So yes, health insurance is important, and I think that it's important that it's driven from the local government and state government level rather than from the federal government level. But I also want to add something. So government alone can't do it. I have to drive this point home. I know we talk a lot about government. Yes, government is important, especially when it comes to the policy level. But private citizens are also important. And when I say private citizens, I mean, maybe I should rephrase that and say corporate organizations through CSR. It's really, really important that they understand that they are a major stakeholder in healthcare, and especially maternal health, because every single human being comes from a woman. No woman should ever have to lose her life bringing life. There is nobody on the surface of this earth who wasn't birthed by a woman. So maternal health should be at the forefront of everybody's mind. And any serious corporate organization should invest in maternal health through CSR interventions. And I'm saying this out of I see the impact because I am in that space. I work in that space, and I have seen how CSR programs targeted at maternal health are critical to reducing maternal mortality. I recently just returned from Benin, like I mentioned, where Sahara Energy we partnered with Sahara Energy to provide training on antenatal care and free delivery kits, which account for a huge proportion of the spending for women during delivery. And so it was in a riverine community where we gave out free delivery kits to pregnant women. So CSR initiatives like this are very, very important. And so I want to use this as a point of advocacy to corporate organizations to invest in CSR programs that are targeted at maternal health. As much as we continue to call on the government and advocate for government policies and advocate for government interventions, we as citizens as well and corporate organizations also need to invest in maternal health.
Well, Dr. Omo-Ojo, you've said so many things, and it's mind-blowing how all these things are happening. And, you know, it's like you said, no political will. But before we go, rounding off this conversation, what would your advice be to the mothers in all this rural community that don't have access to the private hospitals or even the skilled traditional doctors? What would you advise them to do? Should they hold on getting pregnant? Like you said, you cannot stop them from getting pregnant. But what would be your safest advice to them if they don't have access to the right skilled people? Because, of course, we know that after birth, there are other things they go through. Some people have partial blindness. Some people, have so many back pain. There's so many things, and a lot of people don't understand what it is to give birth. So what would be your advice to them?
Well, Queen, when you say I should advise them not to give birth or not to get pregnant, my darling, I'm not sure I have that much power of advocacy. Well, family planning is something that we advocate for as public health professionals. Family planning is really important. I don't want to keep sounding like talking about problems, because if we go into family planning and the how much we spent as how much Nigeria spent on family planning in 2025, it's crazy, it's abysmal. I don't even want to say it's a shame, right? But we advocate for family planning to space out births, right? Again, there's only so much that I really don't know what to advise the women on, except family planning, just family planning. Because pregnancy and delivery, you have 9 months, right? You have 9 months to plan on delivery. But again, pregnancy is such a wonderful thing because there are so many things that, yes, antenatal care is what we advocate for because it's during antenatal that they're able to catch on to possible issues that that you might have during delivery and whether you would require cesarean section and all of that. So we largely advocate for antenatal care. Those are the things we advocate for so that it allows you to plan. But pregnancy is so funny that even when you plan, there are things that could happen that are unexpected during delivery. A woman could have been scheduled to have a normal delivery and then a complication happens and then all of a sudden the 150 to 200,000 you had saved for normal delivery all of a sudden just goes up to 300 to 500,000 for cesarean section. So what do you do in that case, right? And so that cost goes to family and friends, and then you see people going into catastrophic out-of-pocket spending, incurring debts and all of that. So yes, go for antenatal care because that's the safest option. That's the best way to know. That's the safest way to know what to expect at the point of delivery, because it will really be sad to go through 9 months of grueling pregnancy only for the woman to say die because she's unable to afford, or her family is unable to afford delivery with a skilled birth attendant. So family planning, antenatal care, those are the things that I will advocate. But women will continue to get pregnant, my darling. We can't stop that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Omo-Ojo, for joining us and having this conversation, of course. And we hope that, going to 2027, since that's the, most important year that everybody's talking about because of election, we hope that we will have political will to focus on the important things for the country. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Dr. Omo-Ojo.
Have a lovely day.
All right.
Oh, bye.
Okay, that's it for that particular conversation.
Yes, we still have one more
to go. And hopefully there's a will in me. Let's go on a short break. When we return, we'll have our last conversation. Stay with us. Now, Oyo State has witnessed a series of troubling incidents in recent weeks, raising fresh concerns about security and public safety. From the prolonged captivity of pupils and teachers abducted in Orire local government area to a devastating fire outbreak at Bode Market in Ibadan and the recent arrest of suspected cultists linked to an alleged plot at Lautech. Residents are grappling with multiple challenges at once. And while security agencies and the state government continue to respond, many are asking whether enough is being done to prevent these incidents and reassure citizens.
Each of these events may be different, but together they paint a broader picture of the issues confronting Oyo State, from insecurity and crime to emergency response and public safety. This has affected families awaiting answers, traders counting their losses, and communities seeking greater protection. The conversation is moving from reacting to crises to preventing them. This morning, we take a closer look at these developments and what they mean for residents of the state. Joining us, we have Victor Terhemba, civil society advocate, and we are also expecting to be joined by Jide Ojo, who's a development consultant in public affairs. Oh, here he is, Mr. Jide Ojo. Thank you very much for joining us. Public affairs analyst, thank you both for being with us. Let's start with Victor, because Victor was here first. So, Mr. Jide Ojo, if you don't mind. Victor, looking at these recent incidents, how concerned should residents be about the current security and safety situation in Oyo State?
Yeah, good morning. So first off, I would have said that Mr. Ojo should have gone first because he's my Oga. So it's like he's my boss, so you know he should have gone first. But what has actually also happened is that we've had these insecurity issues, coming up, and in terms of worry, it is not only even the citizens or be the residents of Oyo State, Ibadan, but I think all Nigerians. So currently, I don't think there are that's enough Nigerians who think that they are safe where they are. So Nigerians are also currently kind of reluctant, to do road trips or travel by road because of insecurity issues. And this is something that is it is kind of permeating every sector of our country currently. So if there are residents in Oyo State who are concerned about the security problems, they are actually very right to do so. And one of the reasons why we all have to be concerned is because it seems that the government is being
Victor, are you still with us?
We might have lost Terhemba there. We can move on to Mr. Jide Ojo now, shall we? Mr. Jide Ojo, as Terhemba was speaking, I was wondering whether it is not that the media is carrying plenty of the issues of Oyo State since, especially after the kidnapping of the students, or is it just that Oyo State is becoming more vulnerable to these incidents of insecurity? Which is it exactly?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Good morning, Nigerians. I feel that, like Victor said, it's the entire country that is under siege. Whether you talk about cultism, insecurity, fire outbreak, No state is immune. And you consider a state like Oyo, which happens to be my state of birth. That's where I was born. And that's where I went to school. The only school I did outside of Ibadan was my first degree, which I did at University of Lagos. However, we need to understand and situate and contextualize that whatever is happening in Oyo State is just a microcosm reflection of what's happening at the macro level. Issue of cultism has been with Nigeria for decades. Even in my days in the school, we were concerned. University of Lagos, University of Ibadan, we were very much concerned about issue of cultism. Many of us could not go out to read at night. As cosmopolitan as University of Lagos was, as cosmopolitan as University of Lagos is, we still have incidents of cultism. Many of us could not go to lagoon fronts either to recreate or to read for fear of attack. So it's been a phenomenon that has been with us for a very, very long time, perhaps since the 60s. But the issue of fire incident, it happens also everywhere. This Bode, it's called Bode. Bode market is on your way to, if you are moving from Akpo to Molete, Bode market is by the streets there, by the roadside there. And of course, market fire it happens in every state. So you can't actually single out Oyo State as being very concerning in that. Then the issue, the other issue of abduction. Abduction, again, Oyo State is a latecomer to the issue of mass abduction. In fact, this is the first time you are having mass kidnapping, mass abduction in Oyo State. Yes, it has been there, but isolated instances of abduction, one person, and all of that. So Oyo is relatively safer than many northern states. In fact, I would say Oyo State is safer than all the 19 northern states and many southern states. But be that as it may, we cannot gloss over even the loss of one life. It matters, and as such, I think that's even the primary reason. Recall my colleagues in the studio, recall that it's because of insecurity that made the Southwest governors to come together under Muhammadu Buhari to demand for state vigilante, now known as Amotekun. And I recall that as at that time, Malami S.A., who was the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, kicked against the setting up of state-based vigilante group. Until when late Akeredolu, Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State, led a charge to President Muhammadu Buhari and said, look, the fact that security and defense is on the first line, is on the exclusive legislative list, does not mean that states cannot provide security for their citizens. So if there was no security threat under Buhari, there would now have been need to set up an Amotekun Corps, which also speaks to the demand and the imperative demand for state police. Because Oyo State has 33 local governments. It's one of the biggest states. After Kano, Lagos, I think it's Oyo next in terms of population size.
All right, Mr. Jide, we've got more questions. We've got more questions for you, Mr. Jide.
Mr. Jide, you've basically painted a picture that what is happening right now in Oyo is not isolated to Oyo. It's happening literally everywhere in Nigeria. So my question will be, what do you think the security agencies and the vigilantes, what should they do in Oyo State now to make sure that it remains safer?
Well, they are doing what they need to do. They have set up Amotekun Corps, but Amotekun Corps is not well resourced. It's not well resourced. For a state that has about a population of over 10 million, you possibly have an Amotekun Corps that is maybe 20,000 Amotekun Corps. And this Amotekun Corps cannot carry sophisticated weapons like AK-49, AK-47. The best they can carry is pump action and perhaps pistol and guns, and also rely on local charms. But that is insufficient. Let me tell you for a fact, the only local government abduction which happens where Old Oyo National Park is. That place has been an hotbed of crisis, of killings, of insurgency, of sort. In fact, in January or February last year, five rangers in that national park were murdered. Those who killed them have not, and there is a link between that murder and the illegal mining activity in the Old Oyo National Park, where they are extracting lithium and other very rare mineral resources without the authorities doing anything to checkmate them. So now this is the first time we are having mass abduction in Oyo State, but that one time is also quite significant because it has brought global attention to Nigeria, that unlike what has been happening frequently in Niger, in Borno, in Katsina, in Zamfara, in Sokoto, now it has happened in one southwest state.
All right, Mr. Jide Ojo.
We have seen that it has become a national crisis. So the state policing bill that is currently under consideration, that has passed both the state house of the federal lawmakers have passed it at both chambers. Now I believe it will be given expeditious hearing at the state, so that before the end of the year we can also have state police for states that wish to have it, so that they can complement the federal policing system, which has proved inadequate.
All right, Mr. Jide Ojo. Thank you, Mr. Jide Ojo. While you were talking there, I think my co-host here, Queen, was busy looking for the minerals that could be. Am I correct, Queen? Was that what you were doing? Were you searching for what minerals are being mined in Oyo State?
Stop checking.
I had a bit of education here. Terhemba, welcome back. Good to have you here. Terhemba, we've talked about state policing. We've talked about proximity to schools, to other states inside of this area, especially the fact that the Oyo National Park keeps coming up. When you talk about the Oyo National Park, you have to wonder how exactly state policing is going to be able to police an entire forest. This will bring to mind that, of course, there were talks of forest guards. You also talked, Mr. Ojo, about the fact that some guards were actually killed. So the problem is multi-hydra headed. But particularly for me, my concern is on the safety of schools. As we can see, there seems to be an invasion of schools across the north, and now even in Oyo State, we've had our first abduction from schools. And I'm wondering how these agencies can play a better role. Do we wait for state police? Do we redeploy Amoteku to face schools and hopefully provide security? Or by what means can we secure education in Oyo State now, especially around the Oyo National Park area? Terhemba, what's your take?
Thank you. Sorry, I had a working on network glitch, so that I had to go off for a while. But yeah, so my take on this is that we have the National Security and Civil Defense, NSCDC, and what the NSCDC currently was actually even set up for as a working military to do was also to help us police areas that maybe generally the Nigerian police will not be. And then we also had the Amotekun in these particular areas in the southwest. We've also, and just like what Mr. Jide Ojo said, is that we have the Amotekun, but they are grossly under-resourced. So they do not even have the tools. And now we're also talking about the police, when you now talk about the state police, what that also does is that in terms of the state police, we are not talking about community policing and intelligence gathering. So when you have like a state police, it will mean that if a state like Oyo or any other state has about 30,000 police officers in their state departments at the state level, we could actually assume that it might not totally solve the entire security problems, but it will go a very large extent in terms of intelligence gathering, prevention, and apprehension in terms of, all of these security challenges that, we are actually currently facing. And so my thing again is that we should also now look at the kind of NSCDC that we currently have if they are living up to the responsibilities of the ideas of why they were established, or if they can also be dissolved into, to be absorbed by the state police setup that we are going to have if the bill goes into, is passed and then signed into law. So what we are currently saying is that at the bottom of it, it means that we need to take actions. And sometime I was talking to somebody and I said that, you see, the reason why we keep having these security problems with the bandits, about the kidnappers, is usually because there are no consequences for people that perpetrate these particular offenses. Now, as much as we are, very rare, although there are some cases, but very rare, which a lot of people do not even know or are not even aware about, but bandits are not arrested. In fact, how do I put it? The ridiculousness of what I'm trying to say is that at a time, the Nigerian police put out a notice that they were looking for Bello Turji, the bandit kingpin in the Northwest. Few months later, Bello Turji was being turbaned as a chief in his village. Part of the security people were police officers. And yet, the police officer issued out a wanted notice, and police officers provided security at an event where Bello Turji, a bandit kingpin that the police had declared wanted, was providing security at that particular event. So what we're not looking like, it is like there are no consequences for people that do this. And so what we have, or what the government or what we have collectively done is that we have turned this insecurity problem from a challenge to an industry that everybody now thinks that they can just come up. And so when you look at even the working at Forest Park, you find out that these are like some of the ungoverned cases that government do not do. And so people, and so this kind of criminal elements take advantage of that.
Terhemba, so sorry to cut in, but Queen has one final question before we round up. We are almost at the end of the show. Queen, real quick, if we can make it summary.
Well, thank you. Mr. Ojo, I think my final question would be that you mentioned something about illegal mining in Oyo State. And of course, you said we should not isolate Oyo because everything that's happening there has happened somewhere else. But we found out that, when it comes to insecurity in other states, say Benue, say Plateau, anywhere else, there's always illegal mining inside of that conversation. Would you say that the government need to focus on this illegal mining to see if that is the source of the insecurity because of the resources that we have in these different states?
And dear Sister Queen, you are spot on. It's not just illegal mining. It is also, it's not a one-track suit. It's a multiplicity of drivers of insecurity. Illegal mining is ranked very high. Open grazing of cattle is among. Unemployment and poverty is among. Impunity is also another variable. So when you see, like Victor said, it's a honeypot, a criminal enterprise that has become a billionaire business where people can easily make billions of naira. I recall when the train attack on Kaduna Road happened, a couple of under Buhari, all the abductees that were picked from that train derailment were meant to pay 100 million each for them to secure their release. So which business will you do where you can make 100 million, which is, the only thing you put is fear, guns and fear and a camp, and then each person is meant to cough out 100 million. So unless the authorities are willing to break this honeypot, because we have also seen elements of pollution and connivance by the authorities who share whatever is the ransom with some of these criminal elements. We just had yesterday or 2 days ago that those who are kidnapped, the 16 people kidnapped in New York, in Ekiti State, who were during the CAC night vigil, sometime in April, they have been released. But what we learned reliably is that they paid ransom for their release to happen. They paid ransom, and this after almost 70 days in captivity. So we don't know where we are going with these 47 or thereabout abductees in Orire local government, because what the abductors also target is soft spots where they think they can get government to pay huge ransom. Remember the altercation between Senator Obasanjo, the current governor of Kaduna State, and former governor El Rufai, where they were saying that they were paying ransom to bandits in Kaduna State.
Mr. Jide, unfortunately, we've absolutely run out of time for the entire show today. But we have enjoyed the conversation between yourself and Victor Terhemba here regarding the situation in Oyo State. Hopefully we begin to see peace. Hopefully we begin to see reform, especially when it comes to the aspect of the security apparatus being used and employed, not just in Oyo State, but across Nigeria when it comes to the insurgency, the violence, the banditry that's going on. At News Central, we'll continue to make it our responsibility to cover these stories and make sure that they don't just go away. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us for this conversation. We've had plenty of fun having it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, keep safe and stay blessed.
And to you now, my dear queen, it is the end of yet another installation of Breakfast Extra, but the beginning of another week, because it is a Sunday, and we like to say we enjoy ending the week and starting it with you here at Breakfast Extra. And join Joe, Bega, and Olive tomorrow. Yes, indeed. Friday. Do enjoy them. Saturday. Bye-bye, everybody.